My guest today is an accomplished international Grammy-nominated musical theater star who is currently playing Zeidel in the stunning production of Fiddler on the Roof. What's up, Alexandra Silber?
Hi, Paul.
You look pretty.
Thank you so much.
Love the outfit.
Thank you. I had to amp it up for you.
It's like a show people outfit. It's like perfect. It's
well,
just like,
I knew about the new set.
Yeah,
so I wanted to
matched
be
to it.
Thank you.
I love it. How are you?
I'm so well. Thank you.
How's your summer going?
So great. I love summer in New York City.
Yep.
I love
You don't mind the humidity?
I do mind the humidity. I do mind the humidity. Don't get me wrong about that. But I think it's just like the city empties out a little bit,
Right.
and there's that lovely sort of like evening walks thing I enjoy.
Yeah, you do a lot of that?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're in a big hit revival.
Yep.
Fiddler on the Roof.
I am getting married every day, 8 times a week. 8 times a week.
And pregnant. I know that you're a big fan of, based on your social media, you're a big fan of being a pregnant lady on Broadway.
It's funny.
Spoiler.
Yeah, so the hashtag the cutest pregnant woman on Broadway.
Right, I saw that hashtag. I haven't used it yet, but
Well,
I'll try.
There's still 5 months. When we were doing the rehearsal and the pre-production, I was doing a little bit of math and like going, there's absolutely no reason why she shouldn't be pregnant in this scene, visibly pregnant. And also, I just thought it would be adorable. And I actually don't think there's ever been a professional production where she's been pregnant in the rumor.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that this job was going to be all about the wedding dress.
Okay.
But dear Kathy Zuber, thank you for the best costume of my career. That pregnant costume is my favorite. And we have a lot of fun with it backstage. And you can check it out on Instagram and Twitter. Hashtag the cutest pregnant woman on Broadway.
You're very entertaining online in general. You're very entertaining as a person.
Thank you.
But your social media shenanigans are a lot of fun.
Thank you. I try to keep it at a 10.
Yeah, and it seems like the company is just like a really cool group of people.
We have a great time. It's when you're in a huge cast,
Yeah.
there's always the opportunity for friction, but there's also always the opportunity for like great fun. And
Right.
we just happen to have a company that has a lot of fun together.
So as someone who is not an actor and has never been in a Broadway company, how real are those friendships beyond the show?
I think one of the things that people don't necessarily understand is that like it's you're in a situation where you're being asked to make yourself like really exposed and vulnerable every day.
Of course, yeah.
And so when you're doing that with a group of people, you can't help but forge some kind of intimacy that can't be replicated any other way. Like you don't like necessarily do that at like Google, You're not like at an office job. So it's special in that way, and you go through so many different ups and downs of life, seeing them every day. Yeah, and sometimes those friendships last lifetimes, and sometimes they're for that run of that show, and that's fun too, and that's okay.
How's my buddy Danny Burstein?
The best.
The best.
Papa B.
Papa. Okay.
He's the best. A workhorse, a real pro, and actually like the actual nicest man in show business.
Now,
Kind.
when you were cast in Fiddler,
Yeah.
were you excited because you got to work with Danny Burstein, or were you excited because you might be able to meet Rebecca Luker?
I'm so glad that we're bringing this up because you know me
his
so well.
wife.
Yeah, you know me so
Rebecca.
well. So anyone that like vaguely knows me or reads my blog knows that I am sort of like a want to obsess about things that I adore.
Okay.
And I only have one idol, like crazy idol, which is Angela Lansbury.
Okay, and you got to meet her.
And I got to meet her, and
Yes.
I'm just now I can die. But one of my greatest, true greatest role models is Rebecca Luker.
Yeah.
And so the logic went, okay, if I'm playing Danny Burstein's daughter, Rebecca Luker's my mom. Like basically that's the logic, right? But I just admire her so much, and she, in many ways, I think we all have those people that like you grow up listening to on your stereo, and for me,
what specifically were you like really
I think
into?
for me it was The Secret Garden and The Music Man and her solo CD. In many ways, she taught me how to sing. She was just like that voice that I tried to emulate, and I think the other thing that is so amazing about growing up and being so fortunate to be in this world. I went to go see her show a couple years ago at 54 Below because I'm obsessed.
Right.
And, walked up to her sort of like, hello, we sang at this thing one time, and she was like, oh, Al, hi. And I was like, she knows my name, and that thing that you never, ever stop revering your childhood heroes, even though you become equals with them.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I also admire so much about Danny and Rebecca is that the first thing out of their mouth whenever you talk to them is about the other person, Danny
Yeah.
was here on Show People, and the first thing he talked about was Rebecca
Right.
and Fun Home, and vice
Right.
versa.
Right.
They're a real model of like not just how to be in the business, but be in the world.
You are also a great writer.
Thank you.
And I was perusing your blog. I was almost late for this interview because I was really interested in most people's blogs. I'm just like, I don't care. You linked on there to an essay. You actually wrote an essay about Rebecca Luker.
I did.
Has she read it at this point?
I don't know.
You don't. You still don't know if she's actually read it.
I'm too shy to ask her, but I hope maybe she will read it now.
I wish I had known about it earlier. I would have read it to her on this set.
Well,
but it's adorable.
I'm a big proponent of life is short, and I think we don't dig deep and tell each other what we mean to each other enough. And it's not to be overly sincere about it, obviously to be authentic, but also a little self-deprecating. It's important to tell people what they mean to you, because sometimes you just think you're sitting at home not making a difference, and you're making a huge difference to someone and you don't even realize it.
You're right. How did you become so mature and so focused on life in that way?
I
mean, you definitely seem beyond your age in in worldliness.
Well, I've had a really rich life. And some of those have been incredibly amazing experiences, and some of them have been really harrowing adversity-based experiences. Like, my dad passed away when I was 18, and it was after a long illness, long battle with cancer. And I think when you're in that kind of, and that said though, our family and our life was filled with so much joy and laughter and memories and like wonderful, wonderful things, but definitely like looking back on it, realizing that the whole tone of that makes you realize that that you really have to get as much as you can out of every single day. And then of course that event happens, and not to get like overly serious on Show People, but
no, I like that.
The event that every culture in every time period and every language fears the most is to lose somebody that you love. And to kind of face it at that age and live, it gives you this gift of fearlessness, and it just made me brave to do all the things I wanted to do, because what could possibly hurt more? And so I've lived in a lot of cities, and I've made a lot of friends, and I've had a lot of great experiences, and I think I've just tried to be hungry and curious everywhere I've gone.
Well, I know your dad, the topic of, you're writing 2 books, or you wrote 2 books.
Yeah, 2 books,
So I want to talk about this, which is very impressive.
Thank you.
You literally have a book coming out next year and then a book coming out the year after.
I do, yeah.
The one about the experience of your dad is, what's that called?
That one's called White Hot Grief Parade.
Right.
Yeah.
Which sort of says a lot.
It says a lot, yeah.
The title says a lot.
And
so you must have explored this whole.
Sure. I think it's interesting, like in the last couple of years, I feel like there's been a sort of an upswing of the subcategory of grief memoir. And I think for me, what's interesting is I obviously have some kind of like real mythological connection to that sort of 18, 19-year-old moment, because both my books are about 18, 19-year-old protagonists. The first is Hoddle from Fiddler on the Roof.
And you played that role in London.
That's right. So I played Hoddle in London in the West End about 7-8 years ago. And my first book after Anatevka is about what happens to Hoddle and Perchik.
Which is awesome.
I'm so excited.
You basically wrote, it's like when Scarlet came out, the sequel to Gone with the Wind.
I know.
It's kind of like a sequel.
In a way it is.
I'm going to call it a sequel.
Yeah, for me it was definitely like, on a joke level, is it fan fiction? Sure. On a real level, I think it was, for me, I needed to see through this girl's story. I needed to sort of see through. It was a character that haunted me so deeply and felt so personal, connected to my dad. It was my opportunity to sort of say goodbye to him on the train platform. And also, what I don't think I've even really realized until recently is there's this huge parallel between like an 18-year-old girl that got on this plane to go to Scotland, where I went to college, and this 18-year-old that gets on a train to Siberia. And I just kind of needed to see what happened to her. And I wrote it for me. It was just sitting on my computer. And I think it's such a great lesson in any creative person at any level. Just keep making things. Just don't wait for a permission slip. Just keep creating and keep putting things out there, and you never know what's going to happen. And I'm so excited that the world is going to share, and Sheldon Harnick is going to write the foreword.
Oh my God, wow.
Which is really exciting. So that's thrilling. And then, about 9 months after that, White Hot Grief Parade will come out, and it's again, an exploration of this thing that we don't like talk about very often. And believe it or not, the book is actually sort of very, very blackly comic, because it's kind of how I experienced that moment in my life, was through a lot of laughter and some incredible friends in my life and my mother at the time. And I think it's just opening up this thing that we don't discuss in a really sort of like different, hilarious, raw way.
What do you remember about, I don't want to just, we're not going to talk about your dad.
Oh no, it's fine, it's fine.
But what do you remember about how your dad, if he had gone through a long illness, what was his spirit like at the end of his life?
You know, I think it was,
because I actually just lost an uncle, and
so
he was
sorry.
he was definitely very sort of like ready.
Yeah, my dad loved life and loved being in the world and being, you know, my mother's husband and my father, and obviously you don't want to let go of those chances, but you know, when you've been in pain and suffering a long time, I think there's a sort of piece of you know, being ready to move on. But I think the most difficult thing is the knowledge of who you're leaving behind. And yet I think on a certain level he knew that I was going to be okay, that we were all going to be okay. He was a very wise, deep, smart guy, so real Titanic guy. So
you, before that in high school,
Yeah.
Michael Arden.
I know.
You're like, grew up with Michael Arden.
Yeah, so Michael...
And you went to the prom?
We went to prom.
Did he get lucky?
No,
prom,
so Michael and I were... no, because we weren't boarding school, we just went bowling.
Okay.
So, so yeah, no, I went to Interlochen Arts Academy. At this incredible, like, moment. I was at school with Ben Walker. I was at school with Michael Arden and Dane Laffrey, who designed Spring Awakening, Nick Westrate, who's on Turn and a huge New York theater actor. Summer camp with Santino Fontana. Like, it's crazy time. And Michael and I were just sort of like always opposite each other in every show.
Okay.
So we were like
what?
Charlie Brown and Lucy and Snoopy the Musical.
Okay, good.
George and Amalia. That was our big senior show. We did As You Like It, a review of Noel Coward music, and yeah, we were high school prom dates.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you just took your leading man to the prom, basically.
Basically.
Like,
and it was super fun. At Interlochen, prom is called MORP, which is prom spelled backwards.
Okay.
And the byline is stag, fag, or drag, you go. So MORP is very serious. And, you know, it's everything from formal dress to, like, fancy costumes.
Okay.
You all pile into a big yellow school bus. You go to some, like, local lodge. You dinner and dance. Bowling. Back to campus. Boarding school.
Wow, okay, that's what it is.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. It's pretty intense.
And then after your dad died, how soon did you leave? Like, you took off?
So, yeah, I mean, basically what I did was I was enrolled in college in the Midwest, and he died about 6 weeks into school. And I was just like, you know, I think I just need to take a year to regroup. Like, this is a huge event. I could sense that something big was shifting. So in that calendar year, which is actually what White Hot Grief Parade is about, is like exploring this nothing year where, you know, whenever you tell the story of adversity, and I think this is such a big thing we do, right? We're like, this horrible thing happened, and then I got through it, and now I'm okay. You know, you never explore the, like, what happened, right? So I basically, you know, like, attempted to get a grip, and I was in, you know, the house of death with my best friends and my mom in Detroit, and laughing and crying and doing all the things. And I was presented with this, like, feeling of, okay, I could easily curl up and die too, or in the face of all of this loss, I could really live and really have a big, big, big adventure.
Become a West End musical star.
Right. I did all my homework, and I basically decided to go to school in Glasgow, in Scotland, at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. And that was about a little under a calendar year later. And yeah, I took off for Glasgow in this wonderful program at Royal Conservatoire, and that city and that school really cradled me in a very vulnerable time, and it was incredible training. But interestingly, it wasn't musical theater training. I got my sort of like classical acting degree.
Okay.
And I did a lot of like...
Because you're fancy.
Because I'm well, you think I'm so fancy, Paul.
You are. You have a very fancy thing, but
when
you are.
Paul and I first met, dearest viewers, he thought he might be too fancy to be fun. And we joked about that. But I'm fun.
You are. You're able to pull off both, which is very impressive. Because you've written plays too.
Yeah.
I mean, just to throw that in the mix. But wait, so you ended up in The Woman in White.
I did. So basically, what happened was in my final year of school, this is actually a story I don't think I've ever told this publicly, so here we go.
I'm glad. Let's unveil
In my
this.
final year of school, they do this thing where we don't, because our class was so small, the classes at RCS are so intimate, they just assign you roles per thing, so you don't audition, and you kind of need to learn how to audition to be in the world, right? And they brought in, for the straight theater actors,
meaning the non-singing ones.
The non-singing act,
Not
correct?
the
Because that's right. Because we didn't have a musical theater program at the time. Now there's a good one. Yeah, how to do a musical theater audition should that never occur?
Right.
You know,
okay.
like not saying that's ever going to happen, but just to cover the bases. And this was like that. You know, this was that thing where they were like, "This is a piece of Xeroxed sheet music, and it goes in a folder, and they present it to it." It was very like tough, really basic. Okay. And I just had this sort of like that feeling I had when I was like Curl Up and Die or Really Live. I had this, you know how to do this, you've done this at Interlochen, blow this off, or take this seriously and your life might really change. I'm gonna go sing my favorite song in the world. I haven't sung in years.
What was the song?
Will He Like Me from She Loves Me.
Okay.
And
I saw you do that show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. With Santino.
Where were we? Upstate somewhere.
In Caramore.
That's where we
That's
were.
right. That was what a dream come true. Santino and I wanted to do She Loves Me together. Santino Fontana. Yes. Had wanted to do that together as long as we've known each other, and that was like a total dream come true.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So I sang for this man who I will never forget. I must say his name on Show People. Dear Kennedy Aitchinson. Thank you.
Fancy name.
And Kennedy Aitchinson he basically listened to me sing this song. He asked me to sing a couple other things, and he was like, "I'm sorry, but who are you?" And I was like, "I'm Al Silber." Totally 21, totally clueless. And he basically called sort of one of the biggest casting directors in London named David Grindrod, who's ended up being like a second English dad to me. And 8 weeks later, I was replacing Jill Pace in The Woman in White. And it was, I didn't really understand what was going on, if I'm really honest. I didn't really know what the West End was.
Right. They said, just go here and sing this for Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Go here, sing this for Andrew Lloyd Webber. And like 2 auditions later, and like a little bit of immigration kerfuff, there I was. And I think for the first couple weeks, I was like, my God, like the budget for this show is amazing. Like I would just, Andrew Lloyd Webber is like rearranging the keys for me. And
that theater too, the Palace.
The Palace
gorgeous,
Theater,
right?
It was amazing. And it really only sort of dawned on me about a month and a half after I started running the show what had like happened.
Yeah. Ruthie Henschel was in that with you, right?
Ruthie Henschel.
How was that?
Yes, oh my God.
And you must have known her voice at that point.
She was, she was the 10th anniversary Fontaine. How many of us broke that video cassette?
And Damien Humbly,
who I actually then also did Fiddler with after that.
Okay.
He was perfect.
I saw him in Merrily We Roll Along.
So talented.
He was amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah. Then the West End embraced you.
Right.
They like American girls over there, don't they?
Yeah. And
I mean, it's interesting.
It is.
Certain people sort of get. Well, I mean, Leslie Margarita, something just
pops
to mind. Won an Olivier Award and being,
And we crossed paths there. She was doing Zorro when I was doing Carousel. And,
I'm so mad I didn't see you in Carousel.
Oh, well.
Do you have any bootleg of that on your phone?
I do.
Do you?
I'll send it to you.
Do you really have video?
Yeah, sure.
Of you? Oh. Okay, good.
Sure.
Don't
be jealous.
Got that to happen.
Don't be jealous, Internet. I just want to say that I am drinking from a Show People mug, and Paul, I'm
glad that means something to you.
I told you earlier, I feel like I'm on like Johnny Carson.
You are.
I've made it.
There's just no studio audience or band, but other than that.
Who needs that when we've got each other? And then I just stayed in London for about 5 years.
Yeah.
So doing show after show, right after that I did Fiddler, I did play Huddle, and then sort of the same creative team brought me into the last West End revival of Carousel, where I got to play Julie Jordan, which was like a total dream come true.
Right. Okay, so you're in Fiddler till the end of the year.
I am, yeah.
And then you have books coming out,
yeah,
and you write plays, and you have a blog, and you have a lot of social media. You have a lot going on, and an amazing cat.
And an amazing cat.
What's your cat's name?
Tatiana Angela Lansbury Romanov. Can I tell you something?
Did you tell Angela Lansbury that?
I didn't, thank God. I actually remember, though, when I met her, like repeating in my head, like, don't tell her about your cat, don't tell her about your cat, don't tell her about your cat. And I actually like vaguely held it together and was able to be like, thank you for being my inspiration and my only idol. And I was like, yes, you didn't tell her about the cat. But no, my cat, Tati, has her own Instagram.
Tati, okay.
It's pictures of my cat with musical theater captions, and it's called...
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
I Feel Kitty. There is now a fan page for my cat.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, I should retire now.
Yeah,
like, I'm done.
That's amazing.
I'm done.
That's amazing.
I've peaked.
Yeah.
But no, she's, the best, and she's as dramatic as I am, if not more. And
Are you going to keep your hair like this?
I think so.
I dig it. What made you buzz it?
Also, like, I just think your hair is fabulous. I may have been, like, your hair goals, Paul. So yeah,
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just all I want. Yeah, so when I was auditioning for Fiddler, I had long hair. I've always had really long hair. And it might have been like a little bit of a Linus blanket. I'm not quite sure. To be determined. But when I got the job of FIDDLE, I thought, they're going to make me use my own hair, and I've done that, and I don't want to do that. So I sneakily...
You wanted a wig.
Yeah, I wanted a wig. I sneakily cut it into a bob, and I was like, don't do that.
Sign the contract, cut your hair. Is that how it goes?
So I got this beautiful wig, and now that I have this beautiful wig, our incredible makeup artist slash hair stylist slash wig girl, Mary Check, she was encouraging me to branch out, and I said, give me the Tilda Swinton. And she did it for me.
I love
and
it.
It's so empowering.
People treat you differently on the street?
Totally. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're like a little edgier.
A little edgier. It's funny, sometimes in life, like, there's just things you can't control about your life, your health, your friends and family, but you can control your hair. And it felt really empowering to be like... So true. So it's great. And it's always wonderful to be able to see yourself in a new light, to reinvent yourself. And it's been great. It's been a wonderful experience. And it's great for the summer.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So you have a lot going on. You're in Fiddler at the Broadway Theater. It's very glamorous. It's enormous. Go see Fiddler. And then books. There's books coming. Afternoon at Tevka's coming out late spring, early summer of next year. Okay. And White Hot Grief Parade early 18. I love it. Yeah. Do you think you have more books in you? I do. I love it. Yeah. I love it. It's so nice to be here. Shall we cheers with the show people mug? Sure. Cheers. Cheers. Yay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.